The big news, though, Ian. EA, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Boy, those guys.
What's going on there? What's going on with the Vader Skywalker stuff? And yeah.
All right, so we probably don't need to tell you too much about what Battlefront 2 is. It's a sequel to the reboot of the Star Wars Online first-person shooter. This time they've come back. They've added a single-player mode, supposedly, etc.
It's first or third person?
In the last one, most people played it in first person, but you could actually still switch out to third person if you wanted to. This I don't know. I'm assuming probably yes.
Okay.
So initially, there's been a lot of outcry over this game for a couple of reasons. One is the microtransactions, and two is the perceived slap in the face cost of unlocking playable heroes for different modes if you were to just grind it out yourself.
Okay. So the big one was that Vader and Luke Skywalker were ridiculously high versus everyone else.
They were like 40 hours worth of grinding.
So I think they were like, when I saw tens of thousands of credits, like 75,000 or something ridiculous. Well, the other characters looking like they're only like 10,000, 15,000 originally.
Right.
And Chewbacca, Leia, Palpatine, and then Skywalker and Vader, who you'd want to play at because they're probably the most powerful ones in the game, were ridiculously high.
Or at least just the coolest. I mean, they tend to try to at least keep those characters somewhat balanced.
Sure, but that's what you want to play
right.
as. So then either you grind it out for 1,000 hours or you end up paying real money.
Exactly.
Because you want them now.
So people were upset about that because the two characters that you're obviously going to want to play as most, even if you bought like the $80 collector's edition, they still didn't come unlocked.
Oh.
They were still locked. You still had to grind your balls off, or you had...
That doesn't sound good.
That sounds way worse than I thought. You still had to grind your ass off or pay up.
Grind your ass and balls.
I don't know the exact conversion of money to crystals, which was going to be the in-game currency, but people flipped out after the free play weekend or the early access weekend because they had determined, they're like, this is insane. I'm going to have to dedicate myself to unlocking Luke or Vader for about 40 hours and doing nothing else. The other problem that people are concerned about was that the game was looking extraordinarily like it was going to lean heavily on pay to win. There are things called cards, star cards in the game that I'm assuming are very similar to how they worked in the first one, which are basically power-ups or enhancements that you can use. Like you can equip like 3 cards to yourself when you go play. So it might be a better weapon, better bomb, a better effect, speed up or something like that. And initially they were going to be in loot crates, including high-level ones that you could just win by chance.
In loot crates?
Yeah, in loot crates.
Loot boxes, you mean?
Loot boxes.
Loot Crate's a company that sponsors us.
That's right. Well, loot boxes. People, I mean, that would obviously take a lot of fun out of it. The people who had the most money could buy all these boxes, and they would have, an instantaneous advantage over everyone else.
Sure.
So what EA did was...
Well, originally they responded on Reddit.
That was
it was the most downvoted Reddit comment in Reddit history. So someone just said, seriously, I paid $80 to have Vader locked? And they responded to the EA community team, the intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as soon as and as often as we can. So the coldest, most clinical PR response you can, basically, we don't give a shit that we lock this behind paywalls or you have to play for 1,000 hours to to get these characters.
Now, I think at that point they had already said that they were lowering the price of Vader.
Did they? That was 9 days ago.
No, I know. At this point, though, I still think they had already said that they were. I think they said they had lowered the price for Vader and.
I think that was beforehand.
And Luke.
Because they just did that the past week. That was the first shot across.
Well, they did
bow.
one thing, and then they. I thought they did the AMA right after because they figured they had generated some goodwill.
No, not from that comment they did. That comment got the most downloads in history.
I know it didn't. I know it didn't.
This is before that. I think this was the first shot across the bow where people were getting like, "What the fuck?" But this was 9 days ago. Okay. So that was like the 10th or 11th or 12th, and the changes came in the past like 5-6 days.
So initially, to respond to this, because I mean, people started canceling pre-orders. Like, lots of people started canceling pre-orders for this game. So they said, okay, well, we're not going to, they decided they were going to be a fraction less greedy, and in-app transactions were going to stay in, but they were going to lower the cost of Vader and Luke to bring it down more closely to the level of the other unlockable heroes so that it made it more reasonable to grind out and unlock them.
Sure.
But that didn't matter.
It sounds like after you've unlocked them, according to this comment, that they're gimps from the go. So, like, when you unlock them, you still have to...
Oh, yeah, you still have to level them up.
Yeah. So, it's like, what are you doing then? There's absolutely no encouragement to play through. They are saying, buy it or else you're never going to get the character you want.
Right, because after that 40 hours, then you're going to grind for, however many long...
According to this, one of the top responses said, not good enough. Also, there's no pride with wasting 40 hours grinding for a hero, only for the hero to be gimped from the go and require 300 more hours grinding to make them heroic. You're just pushing the system to incentivize spending and for no other reason. And then he says, tell Matt to get a new job. Community managers don't insult the entire community, especially when they're trying to bring attention to such a cynical and shitty decision.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough when you're a community manager to be in this position because there's no way out. It's not up to you. You can't change anything. If it's shitty, it's not like your opinion means anything or matters anyway.
So where does this all fall out? Basically, and it still hasn't ended in a way that's suitable enough for me. This ended with EA essentially going, okay, fuck it, this is blowing up in our faces. They are losing all their pre-orders. They apparently upset Disney, and they eliminated all microtransactions temporarily.
And they then lowered Skywalker and Vader for 15,000 credits instead of whatever they were before, 10. I think it was like 50 or 75 or something ridiculous. It was so high.
Okay, so here's the deal. I don't think anyone is buying this. Lucasfilm even said that they're happy that they did this because, Star Wars is, for the customers and for the people, and they want the people to have fun, and they don't want people to be confused. EA is doing this simply because they're concerned about sales in the launch window and the holiday window. They want people to forget about the fact that they said temporarily, and they need those launch sales for this game to make money.
Sure.
And they need those things now. I think it's almost too easy to call this basically, and they keep saying that they're going to pay attention and adjust things. I don't want to load up a game and see, DLC one day for $10, the next day it's $18, the next day it's $7. I mean, what? Am I going to fucking play? No. But I mean, I'm just saying that's kind of what they're trying to say. What I think is going to happen is they will leave microtransactions out until the game has been out for probably about 4 to 6 months. I'd say less time, more time is likely, and then they'll reinstate them, and they'll use this excuse. People who did not get it at launch, it will help those people who did not get it at launch catch up to people who have had it since launch.
So this is a deal with Disney stepping in here, because obviously EA, their stock took a minor hit when they announced that we're temporarily suspending, because that's less money in the pockets of EA. You have stockholders, less confidence. We know that. Companies have fiduciary duties. Whoever runs a company has a fiduciary duty to make the company as much money as you can. That's the bottom line. Whether or not you agree with this is shitty, and it is shitty, that's what they're going to do. Right. We can have a whole other conversation, which we can at some point, about is this sort of crap necessary, And some people say it is somehow, even though this loot box shit didn't exist a few years ago in games to this extent. You can make the argument that this is the only way AAA titles can be made and be profitable at this point in time. For whatever reason, the budgets are big, the license to Star Wars is a lot of money. You know, that's what they got to do to stay afloat. When you're a publicly traded company, though, you have a lot more pressure on you to have a profit and to have consistent profit versus it being, you know, a private company. You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe this shitty practice is going to happen more with these larger companies, as we see. What's interesting, though, is that when Disney weighs in on it, Disney has a hell of a lot more to lose than even EA in this case, because it's their brand that they are licensing to someone else to make money off of. So Disney gets their money up front in a deal like this. Probably they're done with that at that point. Maybe they get a small portion of the profits, but to them it's small potatoes overall. You gave us money to use our assets and our likenesses of our characters. Have fun, EA. You spent, it's like the same way they get the NFL deal. Have fun making whatever game you want, and then when they see this spiral out of control, they got to step in. Because they got a huge fucking movie coming out in December.
Right. You don't want this.
They have a lot more risk than EA.
Overshadowing, you know, your movie.
They spent billions, Disney, acquiring Star Wars. Billions of dollars.
Yeah.
They have little room for error when it comes to this shit and their brand. So Uncle Mickey came in and I had a good talking to, it sounds like, with EA.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like happened, according to the Wall Street Journal, you had Disney executive Jimmy Pitaro spoke with EA management just hours before microtransactions were removed. Reportedly informed EA that executives at Disney were upset by how the dissatisfaction amongst players reflected on their marquee property. So, yeah, they had a stern talking to.
I'm imagining someone whipping into that office, shirt on, ducked hair on fire, like
it's literally
to kill.
It's literally Mickey Mouse from South Park with a baseball bat, and he starts cracking heads. Because it's not like, yes, Star Wars is the king of getting you to buy whatever merchandise you want, but it's never something that, like, sneaky about it. It's never like, oh, you can get that real toy if you buy these other toys. No, it's like, okay, you want to buy our shitty toaster, go for it. But there's no trickery involved. Right. You want to buy the shitty consumerism, get buy into that, go for it.
You want your Star Wars branded oranges? Get your Star Wars branded oranges.
Sure, if that's a thing. You know what I mean? Get your Star Wars branded stuff. Weird Fox sitting over there. I don't know if you can see that in a picture, everyone. You probably can't. But you know what I mean? But this, to Disney, is a bridge too far. Where Disney doesn't have to do this to make money. They just put out the products and people will buy them. They don't have to try to sneak around, you know, or microtransactions. It's just like, buy tickets to our movie, we're going to make tons of money, and that's good enough for us.
Right.
Because they have to, you know, be safe here. So I just think it's an interesting situation, but they're going to come back. They have come, you know, they're going to come back, but they lowered everything. I think they're probably just going to lower everything to a decent amount. People are still going to spend money, but at least it won't be through the nose.
Yeah, they also said, I think EA said something like, okay, well, we'll try to make sure that no, like, ultra rare star cards are in, you know, any of the boxes, and, you know, if you get higher powered stuff, we'll make sure, and this is like such a stupid oversight, like, really? Oh, we'll make sure you know, you have to be a certain level before you can equip it, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that's one of the first things you put in when you're trying to, like, not make a game pay to win. You know, it was so obvious that the scheme they were going for was give me money so you can win the game. It was going to be pay to win.
Did they even release the chances of getting this rare stuff even on the I mean,
I never see it. I don't think the stats are ever
this has to be regulated.
At least not here.
It has to be regulated at some point, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because it's like with anything else, when you have gambling commissions and know the exact odds of winning at slot machines or roulette, the odds are known. What the maximum jackpot, like, they're there, so it can't be fucked with. Because behind the scenes, who knows if maybe we'll just make the rare card a little bit less easy to get, so we know how much more money is going to come in to get. You know, who's controlling that?
Right.
It's just flipping a switch somewhere. It's just saying, oh, now the odds are, they were 1 in 1,000. Now it's 1 in 1,500 or 1 in 2,000.
And I think that's what they're actually talking about when they talk about tweaking and balancing and this, that, and the next thing. I mean, I think that's outwardly saying, yeah, we have to find the right, you know, mix of odds and money.
It's absolutely gambling. Yeah. It absolutely is.
Yep.
But the whole point is usually when you gamble with whatever it is, whether it's card, when you buy a pack of cards, chase cards, toys, you know the odds usually of getting that. The production numbers aren't hidden. Am I boring you?
No.
Okay. All right. So anything else to add to that?
No.
Okay.